Hi everyone, Coach Stevens again. Today we're going to get back to basics. And the one basic thing I want to work on is our footwork for our approach attacks and our footwork for our blocking. So one important thing to remember is that when we jump, we have to have our arms and our legs, our arms and our approach synchronized. And it's important because making sure that the arms are up in the air while the legs are planting in the act of jumping. This is good. But when you see the person jump and their arms are trailing behind, that means there's the timing, the synchronicity between their upper body and their lower body is off. All right, and there's certain things that we can do to prevent that from happening or to mitigate that from happening. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the entire approach, and then I'm going to break it down from the end backwards, and then I'm going to show you some tricks that you can do to help with some of the common mistakes I see in a typical volleyball high school, middle school approach. So before I do that, I want to reiterate that no two people are alike, so quite often our approaches will be slightly different. So there's no cookie cutter style that makes everything work for everyone. But I think that all players, whether they be male or female, old or young, they all have basic fundamentals that we want to try to adhere to and that we want to try to emulate as often as possible. And then as you get older and better, you'll find some little things that will work for you that may not work for someone else. But I'd like to start off with the understanding that we want to try to make the technique as uniform as possible in the beginning, and then let our athleticism take over as we get better. Depending on whether you are a middle hitter or a left side, right side hitter, your approach count may be different. You may take 3 steps, you may take 4 steps. They're not really steps per se, they're probably more, I call them contacts. So if I'm a left side hitter, the main hitter in what tends to be the high school game, a left side hitter, I prefer having a 4-step approach or a 4-contact approach. With the middle hitter, I like a 3-contact approach. A right side hitter, depending on if they're a lefty or a righty, they can get away with either or, but again, I prefer 4 steps myself as a right-handed player, but some right-handed players may prefer a 3-step approach, but because it allows them to wait a little bit longer. If you're a lefty, you may prefer the 4-step approach because you'll be taking an outside-in approach that the right-handed player takes in from the left side. So I'm going to demonstrate the left side approach first. So now, that's the full approach. Unfortunately, I don't jump as well as I used to. In fact, I only jump a fraction of what I used to, but guess what? That's what happens when you get older. This is why it's so important to maximize your technical part of your skills at an early age, because as your athleticism disappears, the technique will still be sound and you'll still be fundamentally able to hit the shots that you want. You just may not jump as high. So I'm going to break it down now going backwards. The one thing we want to make sure is we're not right on top of the net when we jump, because when we jump there will be a slight forward momentum that occurs. It's almost impossible to jump straight up. So if I'm facing the net when I jump, I'm definitely going to be flying into the net. So it's very important that when we plant, our body is facing the setter who's about 15 to 20 feet away from us. So now my hips have opened. So right now they're facing the net. My hips have now opened towards the setter. So this is the very end of the jump. Chest is down, waist is bent, hips are flexed, knees are flexed, ankles are flexed. My arms are back as far as I can go with my palms making sure that they're facing up versus in. So I want the palms up versus in, and definitely not down. Definitely not down. So this is the last phase of the jump. I want the arms moving first. And as the arms move through, I'm going to lift up through the chest, finish through the hips, knees, and ankles. So it looks like this. You notice that the arms lead the way. So this is a jump as if I'm going to grab a rebound, and all I'm going to do right before my arms get all the way up, I'm going to cheat my hitting elbow back. So now I'm in a good ready position to jump. My non-hitting hand will be pointing at the ball. Okay, so that's the very end. Now, we're going to go to what's known as the closeout. And the closeout is the last two contacts. They're the two most important parts of our jump. For a right-handed player, the last two contacts should be right-left. So, how do I do that? Well, I want to make sure that my arms are leading the way. So as I'm going right-left, I consider it more of a hop versus a step. So as I'm going right-left closeout, my arms are already back and swinging through to get up into that hitting position. So here's what I do, and this is a good way so that you don't end up taking any extra steps. I want to go right-left, but quite often one of the mistakes I see in practice and in clinics is that the feet start moving, and instead of going right-left, I see a lot of this. Focus on my feet. Or I see this. And now that just finished left-right. Notice, watch one more time. Left-right, no good. So the way I prevent that from happening is I will take my right foot, step on my left toes. I will take my hands and put them back already. So this way, I can kind of cheat a little bit. My hands are already here. So as I go into the process of going right, left, my hands are going to be swinging. I'll do one or two more so you can get the idea. One more. Okay, so now I'm going to add one more step. Again, this is a four-step approach, or four-contact approach. So if this was 3-4, now what I want to do is I want to add 2. So the way I do that is I just take my left foot, step on my right foot, and then I'm going to leave my hands hanging at my waist. They may sway forward a little bit, but for the most part, they're not moving. So it's going to be step off my right foot, step off my right foot, and notice that my body's leaning forward as I'm going toward my approach. So step off my right foot, arms sway forward. As soon as they get forward to about just in front of my knee, I'm going to start throwing them back, hop into my 3-4, swing up, and then leave the ground. Very important. You want to try to make sure that your arms are leading the jump and not your legs. So it looks like this. Okay, so that was 3 now. I want to get that 4th step in. Here's something I tell all of my players, whether they're young, beginners, 6 years old, or my 18-year-old red girls who are now going off to college. You want to make the approach small to big. You don't want to go big to bigger, because then you'll end up in the net. One way I teach this is I go small to big and slow to fast. And that's exactly the same thing. Small to big, slow to fast, achieve the same results. If I go fast, I'm going to take bigger steps and I'm going to take up more space. So by going slow, I'm going small. So small to big, slow to fast, okay? So now, I'm adding that 4th step in. If I'm a righty and I'm doing a 4-step approach, I want to make sure that my right foot starts slightly in front of my left foot. I'm angled in toward the court. I'm not on the court facing straight ahead, because it makes it very hard for me to get to those balls or cut those balls off that are getting out to the antenna. So I'm off the court about 3 to 4 feet and a few feet behind the 10-foot line. So I can start with my right foot on my foot. If you're having trouble where you end up doing that negative step, which I see quite often, or I see people taking all these little running steps, we want small to big and slow to fast. So you can just step on your left foot with your right foot. Take a little step, let your arms sway forward. Take another step, the arm starts swinging backward. Go into your hop, close out 3-4, arm swing forward, plant, lift, and then explode. Okay? So this is what it looks like 3 times. I can step on my foot. The first one, I'll step on my foot. The next 2, I won't step on my foot, but I will have my foot slightly in front, because all of this is this is a shift of weight. I'm shifting my body forward. So I don't need my foot to start back here to shift. I can have my foot in front and shift. So first time, stepping on my toes. So watch the synchronization. Excuse me. watch the synchronicity between my feet and my arms. Okay, that time I was stepping on my toes. This time I'm not going to. I just start with it slightly in front. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll notice that my arms don't get much farther than this. The big mistake I see among young players, high school players, is that their arms are in such a rush that they end up lifting those arms out in front of their body. So we don't want this. Because now my arm timing and my leg timing gets completely thrown off. Small to big, slow to fast. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, everyone got it?